Test, test, test. All right, I'm gonna shove the mic in my mouth to make sure it picks up everything. All right. Can I share my screen? Okay. So, yeah, sorry, Ken. I'm just gathering my thoughts. Um, I made a few tests to run to see kind of what type of responses we would get from different scenarios. So here's our like initial RAG agent. We just have this kind of more standard system message, and it doesn't have the re-ranker set into it. And all of these are variations of the same thing, just slightly modified. So here's the basic one. I associated these tools here, but we don't need that there. Okay. So first one is just the basic message calling the vector store database. Now let me change this to 4. And let me save. I think that's what is this? Yeah, we don't need that. Okay. Um, so very basic. Then this one over here is the enhanced message. So this is your um, built out message that you created. One thing I'll note is I wasn't really using that one. Let's see. I think this one. That. Keep doing that. There we go. Okay, so really all you need to know is some of these are using the re-ranking, some of them are not. Some of them, one of them has, or two of them have the basic context system message, and then two of them have the updated system message. So it's just for comparing and contrasting. And then I'm putting all of the information in a little text file so that we can kind of see the responses. So uh, something of note, though, is that the RAG agent won't even go into the Supabase vector store and its tools unless you specifically tell it to. It'll sometimes do it if the prompt is very like basic, but in this case, with the updated prompt that we were using, I realized that it's not even going to our vector store. It just thinks it can answer the question on its own. So that was insightful. I didn't realize it was doing that. Um, so I put in this section saying utilize Superbase vector store and its tools to gather your response. Um, and that seemed to kind of solve that issue. It was basically running and then just going from OpenAI back to the RAG to OpenAI and then finding an answer and spitting it out. I was like, that's not that's not going to work. Um, so I'm going to switch my screen real quick. Let's go over here. We'll just do my whole window because I don't think it matters really. Ooh, deep into the hole. Okay. So on this end, what I did was I pasted the question and I put it in this document so we can kind of see what we're looking at. And the first one is the no re-rank basic message. Um, and this is the response that we're getting. So pretty basic, um, not terrible, but definitely not fully answering the question, kind of misunderstanding the context a little bit. Um, it did pull the stuff like Zillow and Redfin by using keyword section 8 in the search filter. I saw where that came from. That is from one of the podcast transcripts. Um, and then moving on, the re-rank, but no metadata. So this is just like the basic system message re-rank. And similarly, it seemed to get kind of a generic answer from some of the information that we had. So doing a Google Doc form that was mentioned in one of the podcasts. And then when we move forward, no re-rank, but we have an enhanced system message. And this one's, talk to previous landlords, get a rental history, so on and so forth. Very simple, straight to the point. And then down here, we get a more kind of enhanced message with the re-rank when we have the enhanced system message. Um, so it says, here's your key metrics. So really answering that question. Check their payment history, ensure they don't have any collections, obtain a landlord reference, verify the employment, confirm they have a Section 8 voucher, ensure they had no past evictions in 6 years. A few other notes. And then down here at the bottom, I just reference that you need to have the um, the type of message. The system message needs to say something about what tool it's actually calling. So giving it the name of that super base vector store. That's more for me on my end, but just so you're aware, um, that's important. So really going back to where I'm at with this, I was looking back at Nate's video, and here I'll just pull down his video. It might help for reference. So he's talking about the rule of golf as the rule of golf with metadata. So each rule is getting added into the metadata. And for his use case, it makes a lot of sense. For our use case, I was trying to think about how we could do it. And I'm not 100% sure. Like we could add questions in the metadata. I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know like the best dynamic approach. Like we don't have a list of questions just to add to the metadata right now. Um, So we'd have to like figure out a dynamic way to get questions as they're asked and then associate them. But we don't know 100% like if that chunk that it pulled is the accurate chunk to begin with. Like the re-ranker gives like a confidence score, but even then it's maybe a little bit tricky. So I'm just kind of spitballing high level. What I am thinking about though is if we have, let's just say like a bunch of data, right? Like some of this is Section 8, some of it's co-living, affordable financing, stuff like that. That would help our re-ranker definitely. It seems to be doing things decently on its own to get information. Um, we could go further like you were doing with the additional tags, but for Section 8 right now, we don't have like tenant screening as like as a tag. If we want to get that granular, then we would need to kind of re-upload the data with those new tags, which would require a bit more in-depth like understanding of what our data is. Um, a lot of this is great, and I think that it'll help like multifamily burr. Um, but it's for those granular pieces like tenant screening, like you want a specific niche answer. Um, we need to kind of come up with a way that we would approach it. So like I'm saying, for this question, if I look at it, I see like how do you pick between Section 8 tenants? So that could be answered a lot of different ways. Um, what metrics do you use to pick Section 8 tenants? It's a very open-ended question. So in our scenario, we want it to answer for two previous landlords at least, or like um, talk to previous landlords. Like it's kind of giving that answer, but not fully. So and like the one with the re-rank and the enhanced system message, it just said obtain a landlord reference. So it's like it's going to be hard for it to know how to get that exact answer. At least that's what I'm coming across right now. I think it's possible, but we need to figure out like how we're going to enhance the data to make it do that. Um, I don't have time to go through all of these today and like add tags. Um, but it's something to consider. Like we can tweak things, and this might be a good message to send to Nate or to ask him on Monday is kind of like, how do we get the very niche information that we want? Um, so yeah, let me think real quick. Do I have that video back? Um, let's go here. Just want to see his flow again. So in his scenario, the final version, like he already has the metadata for the store or for the rule numbers for each of his chunks, and those are associated, nicely. So rule 27 is what he's looking for. This first agent is taking the question about rule 27 and then determining like what that metadata tag is, so that when it goes into the database, it can just look directly at the metadata tags and the question and make sense of like finding the best chunks. So in our case, like we could do something like this, but from our question, I'm trying to think like what would we pull? We'd pull tenants, we'd pull, section 8 of course, like that should be doing it already. Um renting to renters, maybe things like that. I'm guessing that would be helpful if we had those sort of tags on there as well. But it's hard to contextualize this question and break it up because it is so simple and basic. So there's only a few key pieces I think that we could work with on this. Like as you as a human can kind of read deeper into this and be like, here's some niche knowledge. Um, but in our question with our bot trying to answer it, it's like it doesn't. We don't know how niche we need to get to answer this question. Um, So that might be a question in and of itself, how to train your agent, your RAG agent to kind of dig a little deeper and not just give super generic answers. Um, so for that, I don't have a full answer, but I think we do have a little bit more insight now, at least into sort of how things work and kind of what different responses we get based on how we set things up. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm leaving it for right now. In the future, um, like I said, I was gonna go through and add all of these items to metadata. So, like, maybe a theme metadata and a tags metadata. Um, I don't have time to do that today because it'll take a while to, like, manually get all of these in there, and in town and, uh, and so, yeah, it's not gonna work today, but, hopefully that's a little bit more insightful on this. It definitely can help us gear towards working like with Ashley and different clients and how we structure our data. And hopefully there's a couple questions in there that we can pass on to Nate on Monday if you're able to. Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at today. So I'll send this to you, and hopefully you can take a look and maybe you have some response, some ideas or thoughts. I'd love to hear from you on. So yeah, just let me know what you think. Let's see if I can save this video and send it to you. I think YouTube might be the way if it works for me. All right, here we go.